And I'm joined now by Congressman Jim Himes, Democrat from Connecticut's 4th District, Fairfield County and beyond. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
You know, listening to some of what we are expecting to hear from the president tonight, a lot of it sounds similar to what we've heard in previous State of the Union addresses. Do you think it's going to sort of be some repackaged Obama, or are we going to get more of what we heard from him in the inauguration, the more progressive Obama that everybody was talking about?
Well, I've heard the White House describe this as Act 2 of the same play. So I think the themes are going to be intertwined. And look, you're going to hear some things that probably you wouldn't have heard before. I know, or I should say, I strongly suspect he's going to spend some time on gun safety, which, before Newtown wouldn't probably have made it into the speech. But you are going to hear some things that are, perennial important themes. How do we educate our kids so that they're competitive, so that they're starting businesses, so that they're good employees? How do we, fix our infrastructure? You talk to business people, they'll tell you our infrastructure is crumbling. These are not things that, are passing fads. These are very real issues, as is, by the way, and I don't mean not to say the deficit and other stuff, but, we've got serious problems that are true over time, and he's going to touch on those.
When everybody talks about the lack of harmony in Washington, they point to the chamber in which you serve, the House of Representatives. It seems to be the example above all. Are there still deals to be struck between the two parties? And if so, what might they be?
Yeah, look, I think there are deals to be struck, as we saw in the last month or so. Look, in the last month, this very polarized chamber got a debt ceiling deal done, which involved some new revenue. Look, Republicans hadn't voted for new revenue in 20 years, and they did that to their credit. They sort of played they had the negotiation. We got the Sandy bill passed, which was terribly important to my area and your area in New York. There are areas where I think there is really room for deals. Immigration would be at the top of my list. They understand how politically important that is. Education is probably another one. Other areas are going to be more contentious.
Is the president's tone and how he approaches the Republican Party tonight going to have an impact in how those deals and if they can get struck? Are there some sensitive years out there, you think?
Well, I think tone is less important than when the doors close, what really happens. Does the president offer up meaningful and fair, it's going to be fair if it's going to appeal to guys like me, reform of Medicare and Social Security? If he does that, I think he will find that the Republicans are newly, I wouldn't have said this 6 months ago, but the Republicans are newly willing to negotiate with him. So it's less about tone tonight than it is about what happens in the days to follow.
Finally, a number of lawmakers tonight are bringing guests that are victims of gun violence. You're not an exception to that. Can you tell me just a little bit briefly about your guest tonight?
My guest tonight is Katrina Murphy, who is a mother of a 3-year-old child who was caught in a crossfire in Bridgeport, Connecticut. This child was shot, thank God, went to the hospital and is okay today. But I did this because she's from the district, but also because while Newtown appropriately, destroys all of our hearts, every day there is violence in our communities, and Katrina Murphy represents that kind of violence that doesn't quite get the headlines.